Okay, listen to this. The defense secretary is now saying that Israel is going to lose this war if they keep doing what they're doing.
Not if we pull you into Iran, we won't.
Listen to this.
This kind of a fight, the center of gravity is the civilian population. And if you drive them into the arms of the enemy, you replace a tactical victory with a strategic defeat. So I have repeatedly made clear to Israel's leaders that protecting Palestinian civilians in Gaza is both a moral responsibility and a strategic imperative.
So in the words of Ben Shapiro, everything Lloyd Austin just said is absolutely disgraceful.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
How brutal are they being in Gaza for Colin Powell 2.0 to have to bring it up?
He doesn't want to.
So what he said is it's going to be a tactical victory would be a strategic. What did he say?
This kind of a fight, the center of gravity is the civilian population. And if you drive them into the arms of the enemy, you replace a tactical victory with a strategic defeat.
So he's saying what Israel is going to be experiencing or may already be experiencing is a strategic defeat.
That's where he's not thinking clearly, because clearly all you're doing is generating more cause to go in and wipe a bunch of people out by creating new terrorists. The goal is to create the terrorists. How's that guy going to stay in power without being even after he failed?
Right.
The goal is, I'm Mr. Security. No one could have seen the thing that we all knew a year ahead of time. And up until then, for 7 hours, they want them there. Just like we wanted to have, after Russia, we were kind of lost. After the Soviet Union fell, we were kind of lost till we got our terrorism attacks to give us power again.
What do you make of him saying that, Jackson?
I think he's actually kind of right, because Israel is a very casualty-phobic military. They bomb a lot, but whenever they do these invasions, they usually only wait until they get about 2,000 killed in action before they cease operations. And from what we've seen in Gaza so far, I mean, every day it's just another 10, 12 videos of these Merkavka tanks that are $3.3 million getting blown to smithereens by some Adidas-clad Hamas fighter. So I think he's actually kind of right. They can bomb for as long as they want, as long as the U.S. continues to supply them. But one other thing, Al Jazeera reported yesterday that Israel is in the midst of withdrawing 70% of their troops from the north of Gaza because of the Hamas strikes on those fighters and because of the potential threat from Hezbollah. So it's not really a good position for them right now.
So Israel did respond saying that they're not going to protect the lives of the Palestinians, but they will protect the hearing, and they're only going to use silencers from now on.
Is that real?
No, that's a joke.
Oh. That sounds like a real thing.
I wouldn't actually put it past him to say something like that.
Well, the Buddhist guy we saw where he's like, don't waste the bullets. Come on.
So here's what Arnaud Bertrand says. There's no overstating how extraordinary such a statement by Lloyd Austin is, warning Israel it's heading towards strategic defeat. Essentially saying what is obvious common sense. You create more Hamas than you destroy by killing civilians.
Yeah.
And as such, that Israel is doing so far is nothing but dig a hole and dig it deeper. After, obviously, it's doing all this with Pentagon weapons and support in a myriad of ways. So Austin's words are pretty disingenuous. But they see Israel as their unsinkable aircraft carrier in the region, so they must feel that were they to stop this active support, it'd sink pretty quickly, which they aren't ready to do. Of course, Israel, if America pulls the plug, just like Ukraine, if America pulls the plug for Israel, it's over for Israel. It is over for Israel. They would no longer, at best, they'd have to become a friendly neighbor to the Arabs. At worst, they wouldn't exist anymore as a state.
Right? Well, I bet the solution is going to be sending a bunch of disgruntled refugees our way.
What do you think, Jackson?
I think you're 100% right with that analysis. And today, one of the commanders from the Israeli military came out and he gave a public statement about how important the continued supply of U.S. weaponry is, because, as he said, all of the missiles we fire are directly supplied from the U.S., and without it, we wouldn't be able to defend ourselves. So that's from, their own mouth. And I think it's interesting they're saying that this week as the State Department is talking about winding up the Ukraine war.
So Bertrand goes on to say, which actually goes to illustrate just how deep the whole Israel and America have put themselves in. The unsinkable aircraft carrier is taking on water and needs constant U.S. support to avoid sinking, but the U.S. is now telling them publicly in very frank terms that their actions are actually accelerating the sinking. So I can't wait for the sinking. I'm a very anti-Zionist. I don't think Israel, they have a right to exist. What do you mean you have a right to exist? What does that even mean? You have a right to exist?
I say it does exist, but the whole issue is the apartheid part of it. That's the weird part. And that's clamping down on the rights of the actual Israeli citizens, as well as that South Africa, when they did that, they stepped on everybody's rights. I mean, some a lot more than others, but everybody has to live under tyranny when you do that. Everybody. Like just the stuff that was banned in South Africa, if you were like, you know, a white South African, the best class to be there, it's unbelievable when you hear about it. It wasn't any kind of democracy you've ever heard of. They don't even have a constitution.
They don't even have a constitution.
And also, it's not keeping them safe.
They have 57 laws on the books in Israel that discriminate officially against Arabs. So you're right about that. Everyone has a right to exist, but the thing is, the Palestinians don't have their rights. They can't vote. They have all these laws that discriminate against them, and they got the bombs being thrown. They live in the occupation. So yeah, I look forward to seeing the sinking of the ship as well.
We're doing live comedy shows in Oxnard, California, Venice, California, Palmdale, California, Omaha, Nebraska, Des Moines, Milwaukee, Lansing, Michigan, Bend, Oregon, Portland, Oregon, Seattle, Washington, and Boston. Plus, we're going to put a date in Edmonton, Canada, plus Vancouver. See ya. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for all those tickets.